Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Information Paradise podcast, a podcast for sharing information about how to realize our true infinite nature. And by applying this information, we can create a paradise of mind and world. Not that they differ. Today we have Tarun Pradhaan, a well-known guest here. He does all this stuff.
Thank you very much once again. It's my pleasure to join this Information Paradise chat. This is a very good topic.
Today we're going to talk about time. What we think of time dictates much of our life, right? So it's great to... And we're not really taught about this, are we, in school? There's not classes on time or death or anything else like that, these important things, you know. So let's get straight into it. What is time?
My definition of the time is a little bit different than what you were told or not told in your schools or any other places. So according to me, the definition is that time is a measure of change.
But yes.
In the same way, the length is a measure of space. So we measure the space as lengths, and we use the unit of, let us say, meter. And there is a arbitrary stick that is used as a standard, and we compare the space using that stick, and we say this much length is this many meters. In the same way, we use time to measure change, and there is a standard time that this much change is standard. And let us say we call it a second, and we measure the change in terms of that unit.
Yes. So if I say, there's a lot of emotion attached to time, isn't there, really? We say, oh, I'm late for work or something, you know. People don't understand what they're talking about. So how could you describe what time is in a way that would bring peace to the mind of the late worker?
First of all, it is arbitrary, just like I said. It is used as a convenience. There is really no such thing as time that exists. It is made up in the mind so that we can make some sense of our experience. That is all. It is just for convenience. It is not a real thing. It is not a real entity. We can see that by taking a direct look at our experience. When I say time, what do I see actually? Can you describe your experience of time?
Let's do it now. So it's now, and I have this sleeping eye mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this somewhere for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll stop at 8. Fine. And so all of that happened in one moment. It was a very boring moment, wasn't it, everyone? See, so that's what we're saying, right?
What happened here?
Yeah, I mean,
while you waited?
It was nothing happened, nothing happened that was any different from what was just happening.
Did you experience time, or there was no time?
Well, I think I created time, but as an imagination, right?
That is right, yes. So
Yes.
we can analyze this small event, you see, not very worth mentioning event, but when you put the thing somewhere, it
Yes.
was recorded in your memory, isn't it? And then you started counting. That was also recorded in your memory. And then you took it again, and that
Yeah.
was also recorded in your memory. Now when you look at your memory, you will find there are many changes that happened. And there was a very regular change that happened, which you when you counted, it was very regular. Like the distance between two numbers was, two words was constant.
Yeah.
So all you experienced is a memory. And you experienced two kinds of memories. The first one was a regular change where the regular events were recorded, and the second one was and not kind of very regular. We just put something here and there. So the things that change regularly gave you an idea how much change happened during that. And not much actually, but that gave you an idea. And that is all that happened. And we call it as passing of time. It is just our experience being recorded in the memory. That is all happens when we say, what is my experience of the time? Well, it is just change that is being recorded in the memory. That is what we are calling as the passing of time.
Yes. I was running through a field this morning, and I was just saying to myself, this is the same moments as I was in before. Before and after, what does this mean? Because before just means past, and after just means future, right? What do they mean?
Let us take a look at the past and the future. So when we say past, what are we doing? We are accessing the memory only. If there is no memory, there is no past. And when we say future, we are extrapolating the memory only. If there is no memory of things happening, you cannot predict what is going to happen. So again, the past and future are again the memory, just like the present was. Same thing.
Yes, I heard a similar thing in your podcast episode, about time. Oh yeah. So it's these realizations of permanence now really does much to soothe emotion, like frustration, right?
Yes, they can be helpful. Let us say when you are dwelling too much in past, or if you are too anxious of the future, just look at your current experience, and you will find that the past and future are being created now, at present, and it is just an activity of the mind. It is just reading the memory, processing the memory, and it is all happening right now. So that will bring you back to the present moment, which is eternal moment. Your experience is only this moment. You have never experienced time. You have never experienced past, and you are not going to experience future. The only thing we can experience is the present. That is where all of the good things are happening. All of the life is happening in the present. So
Yeah.
when you are dwelling too much in the past and future, you are missing the present, where all the action is and will be and was. in terms of time. But our life is timeless, actually. It is without time. If you do not bring in the memory, this process in the mind, then there is no time. That will get rid of this anxiety and problems that happen when you dwell too much into time, in this idea of time.
I have many goals. I have many futures that I like to think of. Really, let's talk about the word should for a second here. What do you think about this word should?
It means that you are thinking about a choice.
Yes.
If you don't have any choice, you are going to use the word must. I must. If there is no choice. If there is a choice, then there are two timelines in front of you. You can take, or there are many timelines in front of you. You can decide to take any of the timeline. That is what the word should is saying, according to me.
Yes. So what follows, what we should do is, it's very related to the word good. What we should do is good, right? And what's good means is just what helps the body survive. So I think we should clear that up, right, for people. What I was going to say, you agree with that, right? Just before I carry on.
Can you please repeat? Because the connection is not very good here today.
So it's all right. So basically, so what I should do with my goals and these things, I should just refer to the present moment whenever, what do I want? I want blah, 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 blah. Okay, the present moment, what are we doing here? How can we use the present, right?
Always take the choice that leads to more happiness and freedom. That is what we should do.
Yes.
Yeah. When I say something like this, then it means that probably I do not have a choice. But no, we do have a choice. There are some choices which are not going to lead to more happiness and freedom. So because there is only present, we can only do anything in present only. So do not worry about what will be the future. The future is not present. The future is not here. So whatever you think is going to produce a very happy and free experience, start doing that. That is what we should do.
Okay.
If you start worrying about what will happen and what can happen, and then that is not going to produce anything good. So just think about what will bring more happiness, what will bring more freedom, and in long term, and then do it. You should do that.
Right. So, what if somebody's past seems really real, or it keeps coming back and stuff?
Just realize that it is your memory only. There is no past. The past is not real. Actually, when it was happening, that time also it was not real. It was also mind created. And when it is in memory, as a shadow in the memory, then it is even more unreal. The past cannot affect the present because we have a choice. We have a choice to do something else. We are not really bound by the past. If we were bound by the past, then you wouldn't get any choice actually. Because we have a choice, that means we are free of the past. So do something which is not being dictated by the past. You have the choice here. And the memories, they are not real. They are just recordings of something.
Okay. Yeah.
learn from the memory. Do not repeat something which you did, if it is wrong, if it led to suffering or bondage, do not repeat it. Simply choose something else. Do not repeat the past.
Okay. What is a particularly interesting insight about time? I suppose the only one is that it doesn't exist, right?
The most striking thing about the time is it is not there. That is most interesting thing that one can realize. And that also means that what I am is timeless, because I am the existence. So the whole of the existence is timeless, and the time is being created by the mind. We think the time into existence, otherwise it is not there. And although it is very useful, just like I said, you can measure how much change has happened. Otherwise, you won't know how much change is happening, and that is not good for survival. So it is useful for day-to-day survival, but that is not our real nature. Our real nature is timelessness. The time is happening in timelessness. That is the most interesting thing about the time, actually.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Well, I was thinking you will have a long list of questions about time.
Yeah. I mean, didn't create one really. There are situations. I've got a new thing, because there'll be loads of people who are in different kinds of situations. For example, like really familiar ones, like I'm a mum with 3 kids. How can this information apply to when I'm trying to get my kids to school and stuff? Like,
Well, the philosophy of the time is completely useless when you are living a practical life here, because our life or this waking state is mostly about survival, and the time is a tool that helps in the survival. So there is really no need to apply this non-existence of time to your waking state, because the waking state means duality. Duality means there will be changes, there will be experience, there will be dual experience, and then you need to apply the concept of the time to uh, get through the day. Because you see, even our languages are totally time dependent, which means that the language is actually designed for survival. The languages are not designed to know the truth of existence. So when you are just struggling or just living your life peacefully, then do it in time. There is no harm. But when you are suffering, or when you are looking for truth, when you are seeking, like when you are on a spiritual path, you want to know what is existence, you want to know your real nature, then the philosophy of the time is of some use. It is absolutely useless to think about time as not existing in your day-to-day life. That will cause a lot of chaos in your life if you say, no, I don't agree that there is no any time, so I'll do whatever I want at any time, and so on. You see, so that is going to cause problems in your life. So it must be used as a very useful tool, as a concept which assists in survival. That's all. That is why we invented it. Otherwise, there was no need of time, actually.
many people will strongly disagree, won't they? So, so if you do disagree, check what can someone do to like prove it to themselves? Be in the now.
What do you need to prove?
That there's no time.
Just look at your experience, just like we did just now.
Yeah.
The time or the passing of the time is just changes recorded in the memory. The changes are happening not in time. If I say that the changes happen in time, then we are left with no definition of the time because it will refer to itself. So we need to refer to the memory. Memory is our direct experience, not the time. The time is a conclusion that we derive out of memory. So just look at your present experience. Where is the past? Can you show me the past?
I can think of the past and then I can describe it to you.
Yes, how do you know there is a past?
Well, I can know my thoughts.
That is memory. There is memory. What did you do yesterday? What were you doing 1 year ago and all this? That is in the memory. Now there is something interesting. You can open a history book or you can open your childhood photo album, or you can check your past videos when you went to some picnic or you were traveling somewhere. Is that past? Can you say that is past?
It's not past. It's just not, is it? It's just not.
So, no, it is. When you open the history book, you are opening it in present. When you're looking at your past pictures, you are looking them at in present. And then whenever you are recalling something which happened in past, you are doing it in present. There was never a moment of time which was not present. So what are these things? They are also memory, isn't it? A book is a memory, a photo is a memory, a video is a memory. Instead of being recorded in your brain, it is being recorded on some other medium. That's all. Just like we recall the memories in our brain, we recall the memories written in a book, or memories imprinted on a photo, or on your hard disk. And it's called a memory, isn't it? So there is nothing really which gives us any hint of existence of the past. Whenever we encounter any experience, we encounter only the present. Now let us look at what is future. Can you show me the future?
I can imagine it, then describe it to you.
It is an imagination, just like you said, you see, correct. It is an imagination. The things that are happening are recorded in the memory, then we recall the memory and project the memory. It is an expectation that probably I will encounter some other experience which is similar to my past experience. Like yesterday there was morning, the sun came up. So I'm expecting another experience where the sun comes up. Why? Because there is this past record in my memory. So whenever I think about the future, I'm thinking about the memory only. Only that it is twice as unreal. You can say there is a little bit of reality in the memory of the past, but the future is totally made up. It is just a projection. It is just imagination that is based on the previous memories. So if I say that the past is unreal, I can say that the future is twice as unreal. It is really not there. You never see the future. You will never see the future.
So would it be true to say that time, past and future, are like psychological survival mechanisms?
Exactly. It is psychological, it is made by the mind, and it is very useful for survival, and that is why the mind creates it. For example, when you are going on your way, let us, take a scenario, let us say 50,000 years ago, when we were all in the caves and roaming in the jungles. There was probably no time at that time. It is kind of
Yes.
paradoxical to talk about such things, isn't it? So let us say you're going on your way and a tiger appeared on your in
Ah,
front of you.
yeah.
Now, this kind of traumatic event is
Yeah.
recorded in your memory. Now, after, let us say, a week, let us say you survive that encounter, and after a week, you happen to go through the same way. You take the same path in the jungle. Now, it makes a good sense that you recall what happened
Mm.
previously there. And this is possible because you have a memory. You have a memory which tells you, look, something related to this path happened. And you can also count on your fingers, like one sunrise ago, two sunrise ago, three sunrises ago. Like you can
Yeah.
use a measure to see
Yes.
when it happened. The when question gives you the past. So that was a good thing to have in our minds. The creation of the past, it happened because of the survival. Now, same thing about the future. You know that you have, let us say, a little bit of food left in your kitchen, in your
Oh,
fridge.
yes.
now, now you can recall that, look, I ate the food 1 week ago, then I ate the food 1 day ago. You can now project, I will need the food for next
Mm.
1 week. And now you
Oh,
can
it's
plan.
movie
You can
for
do an action today to survive in the future. So these concepts are made by the mind for survival. Otherwise, they do not exist. That is why I said, if you are just surviving, you're doing day-to-day activity, then do it in time. It is perfectly okay.
Yes. I think once we understand it, it's a great little mechanism. Beautiful, it's incredible, isn't it? Really, like,
It is.
because if we don't understand it, it causes suffering, doesn't it? And so we need to understand it. Thank you, Tarun. Put a thank you in the comments. So,
Okay.
so is right now a memory?
It is what?
Is the present moment? I suppose we could say the present moment is a potential memory.
Yes, the present moment is a special kind of memory actually. It is also called the short-term memory. If you remove this memory, then the present moment is also gone.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I remember in your podcast episode, you said something like, imagine if you forgot the last day, and then imagine if you forgot the last 6 hours, and imagine if you forgot the last minute, and then imagine if you forgot the last millisecond. Like you couldn't remember past the last millisecond. We'd almost be in the now, wouldn't we? We'd almost have only now.
Yes, but what is your experience if you do not recall anything which happened in the past millisecond? What will be your experience look like?
If I can't recall anything past the last millisecond,
Yes, what will be the experience?
well, basically it would just be now, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's like a extreme. What's the disease where you can't remember stuff? Dementia. Extreme.
Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing. Yeah,
Let
yeah.
us say, let us see what happens if you do not have a memory. Okay. So let us say you're you're watching a movie First of all, you won't know who you are. First of all, there won't be any language. There won't be any thoughts, because thoughts take some time to come into consciousness. If you start thinking and you forget the first word that you thought, and the second word is meaningless. For example, you are listening to me. If you forget what I said in the beginning of the sentence, the last word, they are meaningless. You won't be able to
What
make
are
any
meaningless?
sense of the experience. Yes.
I can't remember.
You won't be able to remember, plus you won't be able to experience what is going on. Now, let us say you start watching a movie. The movie is going at 24 frames per second. Now,
Okay.
when the next frame comes, the first frame is already in the memory. Then when the next frame comes, you know that something changed and you make sense of it. But if you forgot the first frame, the second frame is not going to make any sense. It will be just a noise in your mind. You won't be able to see, you won't be able to hear, there won't be any touch, smell, taste. All the experience will vanish and no memory will be formed of it. So you won't be able to recall what is happening. You won't be able to project anything in the future. Plus, the brain needs time to make the body function, like the heart must beat and all these things, you see. So all these functions will stop and probably the body will drop dead. There won't be anything. It is like death. So the time is like most important thing for survival. Without the time, without the memory, without this arrangement of experiences in a serial way, in a series of experiences, there is no life. There is no life at all. So what we say is all experiences being created in the mind. Without the mind, without the memory, because mind and memory are one and the same thing, you see. Memory in motion is just mental activity. So without the mind, there is no experience. Without the experience, there is no life. Without life, there is no you, no me. There is nothing. Nothing at all. There is not even consciousness. There is this potential, like you said. There is potential of experience, and the experience happens only when there is a mind. Otherwise, there is no experience.
But I thought that consciousness could never not be. What's about that?
That is okay. That is true. That you see, the consciousness is present like a infinite potential of experience. So as soon as there is a mind and you experience something, the consciousness gets reflected from this experience and knows itself. Look, I'm experiencing something. That means I am there. But when there is no experience, this knowledge is not present.
Okay. I remember. So how can we have an experience of not experiencing? I remember you saying something about a float tank in Death Part 2.
We can experience not experiencing, but there won't be any memory of it. You won't be able to recall what you experienced. And this happens in the state of deep sleep. Yes. You do not recall what has happened. That is the experience of not experiencing, but there is something which is experiencing. For example, somebody knocks on your door. You're in deep sleep. There is something that experiences, that wakes you up. And there is a memory, oh, I heard a sound. But usually, when there is no experience, there is no memory of it. And you can say that the consciousness is in a potential form there. But it looks like that it never happens. There is never an experience of no experience. There is always an experience, only magnitude changes, its intensity changes. And that means there is always a mind, only its states change. For example, right now we are in the waking state, and we can go into the dreaming state or imagination state, or we can go to the deep sleep state, or the state of coma or state of death. But the mind, it only changes the state. And then if it is very, very low intensity, we say that there was no experience because nothing got recorded in my memory. When it is below our threshold of perception, we can say there was no experience. But actually, it is not. There is always the experience. Only its qualities, they keep changing. There is always an experience because there is always a mind.
Okay, let's talk about the subconscious. So you said that it takes time to have a thought, to become conscious of a thought, which must be there must be some change, which would mean that like a thought somehow pops up in the subconscious and then goes to the conscious.
Actually, we do not use these words, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. I especially do not use these words. They are very confusing and they are not very accurate. What we use is awareness. The thought is there, the awareness comes later. That is how we state it. Because we have reserved the word consciousness for existence, you see. So there cannot be sub-existence and there cannot be unexistence. So in this philosophy, the philosophy of non-dualism or Advait, the word subconscious and unconscious has no meaning. What we say is the thoughts arise in consciousness, but they get reflected in awareness, and we have awareness of the thought. We are conscious of presence of the thought. That is possible only because of the awareness of the thought, and awareness is there only because there is memory. Without memory, there is no awareness.
Okay.
So in Sanskrit, the word for awareness is Chetana, and the word for consciousness is Atman. Atman means the self with the capital S. That is the ground reality. That is never unconscious. Awareness comes and goes. It depends on what is the status of your memory. And there are practices that can keep the awareness on all the time. That means the activity of the memory happens all the time. The consciousness is reflected out of the memory all the time. There is never a break there. So such a person is called yogi, and this state is called samadhi. It is possible to enter that state. So what happens is that there are no gaps in experience. Like the waking state turns into the dream state, and the dream state turns into the sleep state, and the sleep state turns into the death state, and the death state turns into the birth state, and so on. It is eternally present.
All these people in my hood, in my neighborhood, in my neck of the woods, everyone in culture, time seems to be like we seem to have time just because there are gaps. There seems to be gaps, doesn't there? These are just gaps of unawareness, right?
There is no gap actually. It is an assumption. When you say there was a gap in experience, you are saying that I do not know what happened. You're saying that I cannot recall what happened. So actually it is a form of ignorance. It is not something which occurs by experience. For example, when you go to sleep, you say that nothing happened for 8 hours, but you cannot actually recall that nothing happened. You only recall that you went to the sleep, and the next thing you recall is you got up from the bed. That is all you recall. Sometimes one dream or two that happened in the sleep. So in actual experience, there are no gaps. The gaps are then found when you compare it with what is happening outside. When you compare it to what is happening outside the mind. And how do we know that there was a gap? Because the clock shows a different number, isn't it? The clock has changed, not your experience. There was no experience in that. There was no gap in the experience. The clock has changed. It is showing 8 hours more than you recall, you see. So you conclude that there was a gap in the experience. But no, the experience never has a gap. There are no gaps in our experiences. Yes. So now the question is, very interesting question. What happened in the 8 hours? What really happened?
Would have been nothing.
How can nothing happen? And how can nothing happen? Because the whole world was going on, you see.
Yes.
Was spinning, and on the other side of the earth, a lot of activity was going on, and that also we can conclude very logically that something happened. It was not an happening, isn't it?
Like, how do I? Because solipsism, right? If solipsism was true, then there would be an 8-hour gap of nothing.
But that is not true, because if when you are sleeping, I was awake, and I can say that okay, things happened, experience was there. So solipsism is kind of daydream, fantasy.
But you're in my mind. You're on my mind, Tarun. You're in my mind. Yeah. Everything else is too.
That is true. That is true. The existence of experience is always subjective, but there are many subjective experiences. There is not only one subjective experience.
I've had to believe it.
It is impossible to know it.
Yeah. Unless, I think that when we get to a certain level, like an unheard of extreme level, we can see through all perspectives at the same time. Proper God consciousness.
Still, there will be only one experience.
Yes.
Because I cannot imagine how it will be like to have two kinds of subjective experiences. That is impossible. That gives us idea that the consciousness is one. There is only one universal consciousness. What is happening is there are many minds, there are many memories. So it is scanning through different memories, and that gives many different subjective experiences. But since there is no time, all of these experiences are happening at the same time in the present moment. So one memory cannot access the other memory. That is true. One mind cannot access the other mind, and therefore the mind does not know. The mind cannot know what it is like to have the experience of everything, and it cannot even experience the non-experience. So it is confused. Now the mind is confused. How is it possible that I did not register anything for 8 hours, but still there was something? How is it even possible? How can there be things while I am not experiencing? This is the confusion of the mind. So the answer is the mind is absent, but the consciousness is always present. The consciousness is conscious of experience through other minds. It is reading other memories. It is very simple. Even if all the humans disappeared from the planet, let us say, it is reading to the other creatures. It is having experiences with the other creatures. If everything disappeared, then probably it will experience only itself, which is same as the experience of the deep sleep. So the experience never dies because the experiencer never dies. And that is because they are one. There is only one consciousness. There are different minds and they conclude different things depending on what their memories tell them. So that is the proper answer, actually.
Well, the thing is, like, so we can't experience like two people at once, two people's perspectives at once, you say, but I experience my ears and my eyes, and we can say that could we say that these are separate organs, kind of like different living things, different life systems?
That is what you can conclude, that because there are separate bodies, there are separate senses, and all the separate senses, they are connected to separate memories, separate minds, but the one that experiences is only one. There are no separate consciousnesses. It does not add up like this.
No. So that which I am is experiencing Pune, India, right?
I'm experiencing everything. Yes, I'm already experiencing everything, but there is no memory of it. And the only memory that I have right now is of my own experience, my own mind. I'm limited to this mind and body.
So you're saying that as me? You're saying that as me in some like different body? Or what? Am I going wrong somewhere?
Yes, you are identifying with the mind and body. If you disidentify with the mind and body, then you are universal. Then you are the only experiencer, which is experiencing all the minds and bodies. But what this mind and body can say right now is that, well, the experience is limited. But the experience does not tell anything about the experiencer, isn't it?
Yes.
Let us take an example. Let us say you have two cameras in your room. Now, the two cameras are showing different views, like two security cameras. So you are the observer of those cameras. Let us say one camera can talk to the other camera. And one camera says, I can see this corner of the room. Can you see it? And the other camera says, no, I cannot see it. But you can see both the views, isn't it? So similarly, these body minds are instruments that are recording the experience, but the observer is one. The observer is one. I cannot tell you what you are seeing, and you cannot tell me what I am seeing. And that is because there are two memories here. There are two instruments here, which are limited.
Okay.
It is kind of very difficult to even imagine what is happening. It is very difficult because all the experience that we have currently is experience of our own mind. It is impossible to even imagine what will be the experience of the other mind. And let us say I can experience your mind. Let us say, for example, assume, how will that experience look like? It will look like my own experience.
Yes.
It will look like I've got two more pairs of eyes and ears, and now I'm seeing and hearing some more sounds. But it will be again experience of my own mind only. It is as if the mind got extended to your mind. That is all will be the combined experience. Now you add many minds in that experience. You can see now many things at the same time. The consciousness is one as usual, but now it has combined many instruments into one. Now, can you tell me what will be the experience like? because it's all happening at the same time.
I think it would be exactly what's happening right now. Just like the mind that is attributed to this body. I don't know how, by the way, I don't know how the mind is attached to the body, but perhaps we can get into that later. But surely it would be exactly right now, but the body mind here just forgets it because the consciousness isn't high enough, and for the survival of this body, it would have why I don't want to get messed up in some other person's memories and experiences. I need this human's experiences because I've grown up in my own climate, my own socio-economic climate and such. I need my memories.
So you can imagine, actually, you can imagine how the scene will look like if my mind gets connected to, let us say, 8 billion minds.
Yeah.
The scene will be kind of a chaos. It will be just random dots in front of me, like noise, screen full of noise. And all the sounds will be overlapped. I won't be able to make sense of any sound there. So now, can you imagine what will it do to my survival of this organism? Such kind of experience. Is it useful for survival? No. So the Mother Nature came up with this strategy to divide the experience into very tiny, limited, something which is only useful for survival. The survival drives the structure of the organs, the structure of the body, structure of the mind is driven by the need to survive. So survival has created an instrument that is isolated from every other thing. And that is why our consciousness got limited to this body-mind. And the reason is survival. It is not possible to survive effectively if I can perceive everything. It's not possible. So it is a natural outcome of, if you give up the form, then you are already witnessing everything. And just like we imagined, the witnessing will be witnessing of every possibility that is there in the existence. And that means it will not be any kind of experience. It will not be any kind of meaningful experience. It will be all like a white screen. It will be nothing, actually. It will be a presence where nothing can be seen, nothing can be heard, no meaning is there in that experience. That will be the experience of the God, if you want to call it. It can see everything.
Which human right now in 2020 is the closest to being like Jesus Christ in the year 30 odd?
No, human beings cannot be like that, you see. Because the definition of being a human is you are limited by the body. You are limited by this body, and you are limited by the senses, and you are limited by a very limited intelligence and mind. That is the human. Yes, you can cross over to something more than the human, which will happen. It is a natural evolution that is happening. And that state will be kind of not describable by a human. For example, a dog cannot describe what you're seeing, what you're perceiving, what you're thinking. That is beyond the capability of the dog's mind. And an ant cannot even imagine what the dog's life is like. So we cannot imagine what will be the mental state of an entity which is more evolved than us. We can make some guesses, you see, predictions, like there will be an experience first. The experience will not be limited by these kind of senses, but it will be limited by some other senses. There will be more senses. Then there will be more experience. It will be broader experience. Probably there will be multi-dimensional experience, like the time will be flexible. You can just, zoom in and out of the time, rewind forward, something like this. So we have the stories. People could do that things, you see. We have some stories that people who evolved enough, they got these glimpses of the more evolved minds. So there is a possibility, yes, why not? It is absolutely possible to have this kind of experience. But right now, because I am a human, I won't be able to tell you anything about it. As soon as you give up the humanness, human birth, which is the goal of a seeker, isn't it? It is the goal of every spiritual seeker to get rid of the human birth, stop this cycle of birth and death in one specific form. You want to evolve out of it. So once that happens, once you achieve your goal, you will know it firsthand. Otherwise, it is all stories. I cannot offer you any evidence of anything.
Okay. A painting by Leonardo da Vinci, his most recently discovered one, was of Jesus Christ, and it's called Salvator Mundi, the Savior of the World. And it sold. How much do you think it sold for? Take a guess.
Millions and billions must be.
445 million something dollars, I think. Yeah. Beautiful painting. So
Well,
yeah.
it is my opinion, actually. I cannot offer you any proof, but there have been thousands of such people. Jesus Christ is kind of not the unique one. Thousands, actually. He became famous. That is his thing, you see. For example, there have been thousands of philosophers like Gautam Buddha, but he became famous. He became more famous in his time. But we have thousands and thousands of such people. The evolution is natural. Nobody can stop it. No kind of culture, no kind of atmosphere or time can stop it. The evolution of humans to the higher minds, higher possibilities is kind of a law. It is natural law. Nothing can stop it. Some people become famous. Some people, get knowledge. Like they're more. They have more skills to encode the knowledge in language and spread it. Then and we remember only those. We do not even know about the rest. So I do interact with many seekers, and sometimes I find extraordinary people, actually. Extraordinary. Their experiences are extraordinary.
I would like a list. I think you should do interviews with them.
Yes, but the only thing is they may not like to talk about these things because, you see, our culture does not like these people. Our culture likes the dumb and stupid and rich kind of people. So those interviews are more popular, and as soon as somebody starts saying about their experiences which do not match with the experiences of ordinary people, well, people do not like them.
Yeah.
They will either ridicule them, or they will torture them, or they will kill them. This is what happened to many, and that is why we do not hear about such people.
Yeah.
It is like going to a village of the blind with eyes on, and then you start telling them, look, I have the eyes, you do not have the eyes. And what happens when you tell somebody that you are inferior to me? What happens? You can guess. There are two reactions. When I tell you, okay, you are inferior, I am more evolved, there will be two reactions there. The first is fear. They will be afraid of you. The second is anger. They will see you as a danger to the society or to myself. Oh, he knows my thoughts. Probably he's a dangerous person because I've done something wrong, and he will go and tell everybody. So there is fear, or there is fear leads to anger and violence. This is the human reaction. The human animal is not capable of anything else. When you are afraid of such people who are more evolved, then either you worship them or you hang them. You cannot do anything else. So I'll tell you one person whom you can interview. His name is Ishwar Puri, currently in USA.
How do you spell that?
Ishwar.
Ishwar
Puri. Puri.
Cool. All right.
So he one who has a YouTube channel, and he has a lot of interesting stories to tell. Like you were asking, tell me a list. Probably he got a list. He has so many interesting stories to tell. It is amazing, extraordinary, entertaining. Plus his lectures are very enlightening. So you can get hold of them. Nowadays he's a very old man. So he told in one of his lectures that when such a person decides to teach others, the person will appear as very, very ordinary, like probably more ordinary than you and me. He won't have a house, he won't have a mansion, he won't have 20 cars, he won't have 50 girlfriends, he won't be rich. He will be like a beggar on the street or something, a very ordinary person. And that teacher is then accepted by everybody because not threatening.
Yes, that's great.
Yes, and he will not be worshipped by the idiots.
That's great.
Look at him, half naked. You see, Mahatma Gandhi kind of person. Nobody's going to worship him. So, and the teacher takes a form that is acceptable to the current time and place. And that is why, look at India, for example. Every saint, every great person which you are capable of identifying as great, looked ordinary. Displayed no divine powers or something, you see. Because the intelligence is functioning there. They know as soon as they start displaying their abilities, or they start telling something, there are more possibilities, the people are not going to let them live ordinary life. So there are some people who will tell you some things, but they are usually newbies. They are usually newcomers in the spiritual field. And some great experience happened, and look, I need to tell everybody now, this kind of people you will encounter. You may encounter a very evolved mind, but he or she is not going to tell you anything. Yes, also. That is what I also do. You see, when I encounter something extraordinary, I just keep it to myself.
As an information paradise exclusive, could you tell us one thing?
I can tell you what I learned from my experiences. Okay, so they were not extraordinary, and they were very rare. What I learned, there is a possibility. The mind is evolving towards higher possibilities, and the good news is we are capable of accelerating it. You need not stay here as a human, in this animal monkey body, you see. Need not stay here. You can enhance it, or you can evolve beyond human. That is what my experiences tell me, and that is why I am on the spiritual path. Otherwise, the spiritual path is completely useless, you see. It does not give you anything. So the essence of my experiences, which are all subjective, which are all in the mind, which I cannot give you any evidence of. If I tell you a story, it will be a story. It is not going to make you progress. What I can share is what I learned from my experiences and how I've exploited that knowledge to progress forward. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So I have accelerated my progress, that is the benefit of such experiences. Once you know that there is a bigger possibility, then you don't want to stay here. So all that knowledge that I've gathered is already presented. Actually, I cannot tell you in one line that I learned this and this. It is already presented in all of my videos, all of the audio podcast, all of the articles, and I'm offering, help to other seekers if they want to progress further, if they want to get rid of the human existence, which is repetitive, which is repeating in nature. You are limited. You cannot imagine how limited you are. So the bad news is you will be limited. As long as there is an individual mind, it will be limited. But we can enhance it. We can evolve it to extreme heights. Extreme. There is possibility there.
So how do we do that?
How do we evolve?
Yes.
Yes, it is very easy actually. Just know how the mind functions. Know who you are, which you already know actually. You know who you are, isn't it? You are already ultimate. You do not evolve, isn't it? You are the existence, consciousness, bliss. There is no scope of becoming more because you are already everything. So know how the mind works. The mind is limited, not you. Know what is mind and know what you are. First thing. First, this is called the self-realization, isn't it? Now check how the mind works. That you can do by studying the mind. How to study the mind? Not using the probes, not using the instruments, not finding it in the books written by biologists or neuroscientists. That is not study of mind. That is study of the body. You can do it if you want. You see, that is also interesting. But your goal is to leave the body forever. Your goal is not to have this body. So have no attachment to this body. Focus on your subjective experience. See what can you learn there. What can you see in the mind? Once you know how the mind works, you can hack it. You can twist it into a path which accelerates its progress. It is progressing anyway. It's evolving anyway, but it's very, very slow. It takes a tiny step in 100 years, something like this. This is the pace of evolution of the mind. So once you know how to twist it, how to bias it towards higher side, your evolution will speed up. So step one is know the difference between what you are and what the mind is. Second step is find out what is happening in the mind, study the mind. That you can do it by knowing its structure, and it has to be done subjectively. Do not try to use a microscope or telescope to study the mind. You have a mind and you are directly experiencing your mind. You're not experiencing anything else. You can study it like that, and you can take help of those who have already studied the mind. So you jump quickly, jump in knowledge quickly. And the other way to study the mind is to study the states of the mind. It is naturally cycling through the states. Study the states. There is a very interesting state of the mind where it loses its limits.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yes.
So, who?
When the mind changes states, why don't you remember? Because there is no awareness. So awareness is the key. Maintain your awareness while the states change. Now you're stuck in one specific kind of awareness right now, which we call the waking state. This awareness is of a world of objects, material world, a body which is made up of matter and a very limited mind, very, very limited mind, which is functioning, which is reacting to the matter through this body. That is what we call human life. So you are stuck here in this awareness. So as the mind naturally changes its state, you need to let go of this state and stick to some other state which you think is better, which you think is more evolved. So there are crude ways to do it, like you know already, but we should not do that in that way because you want the state change to be permanent. You do not want this mind to remain associated with this kind of trap, prison made up of matter. You don't want that. So do not use mechanical or material means to change the states of the mind. Use your own willpower. Use your own intention. Use the tools of the mind. The mind has built-in tools. For example, the attention, imagination, the willpower. Use all these tools. That is what a magician is doing. That is what a yogi or a seeker or an occultist is doing. They are using the mind. They are not using anything material. If you use material stuff, use the technology of the matter, you will remain trapped here. Use the technology of the mind. This is well advanced, well proven, and it is kind of million times better than the technology of the matter because it makes us evolve faster. So the key is study of the mind with full awareness. I gave you the key. Now utilize it.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Now there will be, questions like how much time it takes. Can I do it tomorrow? Remember how much time it took for you to come from, evolve from a single cell to the human. How much time it took?
The thing is like, if we measure, so 10 years, if we said that, then just all measurements are untenable. So like, they don't actually, because I can always half the difference between two measurements, no matter how small they are.
Yes, but you can make just guess, rough guess, like intelligent guess. It took a lot of time to evolve. Evolve from, like you went through many changes, isn't it? It was not single cell to boom human. Mm-hmm. It is not. It's not possible. So you can use the logic to see what can happen in our evolution. You are going to go through many changes. The changes will be there. It depends on you how fast you want to go. But you will need to go through these steps, these changes. So, you must have read this in my articles or in my videos or the podcast, that the mind has many layers.
Yes.
And the layers have many sub-layers. So if you concentrate only on the human minds, you will find there are many layers in the human mind. What are those layers? You see, they are also called chakras in the yogic system. They are the layers of the mind. So at the bottommost layer is only survival, you see. It is like eating, digesting, excreting, breathing, sleeping. This is the bottommost activity of the mind. Isn't that? It is the activity of the mind. So we include the body into the mind actually, because the body is a form of the mind. It is only perception in the mind. So there is another layer which is considered as pleasure and pain layer. So it enables reproduction, pleasure and pain, and all these things. That is also happening, isn't it? That is another layer. Above that layer is social skills, like how to talk to others, how to behave with others, what to do when somebody attacks you, the flight or fight, these things, you see, how to manipulate others to get food. That is another layer, you see, third layer, which enables survival. Then, and the fourth layer is of the emotions, the feelings, the love and hate, likes and dislikes is another layer. Then there is another layer which handles the intelligence, the intellect, how to invent things, how to read and write, how to sing and produce art, work of art, how to make scientific discoveries, how to calculate and do mathematics. This is another layer. There is another layer on top of it, which is awareness, isn't it? Awareness is the ability to reflect on what this thing is, what this mind is, what the mind is doing. This is the awareness. You reflect the activities in consciousness. Now, something like this, you will see structure in your human mind. There is structure below it, there is structure above it. You cannot say there's nothing more, you see. You can, but that will be arbitrary division. So imagine what can be above the awareness. What more can be above it?
I don't know.
Yes, I can give you some hints, like a better understanding of the. You will see the abilities of the mind, they go on increasing as you go further up. So there will be something called a better understanding of the time and space, a better understanding of the mind itself, a better understanding of the emotion, a better understanding of the other minds, and this thing which we call as the universal mind. There will be more sets of abilities there. The understanding increases, the knowledge increases as we go up. So you get the clue, more knowledge. Let us say you are living at a layer of the bottommost layer where you eat, sleep, and nothing, reproduce. That's all. And many, 90% of humanity is like this. They do not do anything more than that. So we call them as less evolved. Now you can see, when you go to a meeting and you tell people there, look at you guys, you are less evolved. They're not going to come to your meeting next time. No. They're not going to like you. So nobody tells this thing that you are less evolved. You always twist the teaching into something positive. Like, look guys, you can evolve more than that. There are more possibilities than the current awesome abilities that you already have, you see. You just glorify whatever pile of trash is in front of you.
So as not to displease.
Yes. You need to put it in proper words. There comes the skill of the teacher.
Yes.
So I usually do not do this. I simply tell, directly. In India, it is allowed. It is okay. We know what we are talking about. In other countries, well, no, they will shoot you in your head. He looks like he is kind of Nazi of some kind, superiority complex of some kind. So that is why we work with the gurus here. You will see the gurus are kind of an object of worship for people. And they will hit the student, they will, abuse the student and all, but the student is okay with it. The student knows what he is dealing with. So that culture is not present everywhere in the world. So you will need to find out the current level of evolution of the person or yourself, and then you push your activities to the next higher level. That is the method. You employ anything to rise above your current layer of evolution. You use any method. There are hundreds of methods. And do not stick to something which is more dogmatic and has no, potential of improvisation. Do not stick to these systems. Invent your own system. For example, you came to know that there is a possibility of remaining aware in all the states of the mind. Now, which is the state of the mind that you know except the waking state?
Dream state.
Then that becomes your next step. That becomes your next project of evolution. Now you find out the techniques to remain aware in the dreaming state. And there is very interesting technique, very useful technique, which I do myself. And that is, you remain aware in the waking state. then the awareness will continue naturally in the dream state. So utilize any technique you want, utilize any yogic or occult technique you want. Take the help of the more evolved beings if you want, Don't lick their feet, just ask for guidance. Do not offer your hands and head to these beings. They are not useful for that purpose. Just learn from them if you encounter them. So, what is the mode of operation of progress? You know what is the next step, and you try to climb that next step. Know it through your experience. You cannot progress by reading the books. You cannot progress by listening to the stories of the gurus. You all have this possibilities. You have this potential. Everybody has this potential. The only thing is we are all not equal at present. Somebody is somewhere, somebody is somewhere else. So depending on where you are, on which layer of the mind you sit in, you need to start from there. So start from where you are. That is the mantra. Start from where you are, and it is your wish. You can progress faster if you want. Depends on your intensity. Like I don't want here, I don't like here, and that will cause you to move forward. As soon as you become attached to this, let us say you are attached to the food. Like I like to eat a lot, I like to drink a lot, and I like to, simply just pass out eating and drinking. If you are attached to this kind of existence, you will remain here, because Mother Nature does not care. We are all equal in the eyes of Mother Nature. It does not kick you into progress, you see. The only thing that makes this kind of people progress is suffering.
Yes.
Suffering is a very good tool for progress. But we need not make suffering our tool, you see. We can progress by curiosity, by knowing more. And that is the path of knowledge. I'm on the path of knowledge, actually.
Yes.
Know and evolve. Know and evolve. Repeat. Keep repeating. It is endless. The evolution has no end. You are not limited to a human body, human mind. This is the message.
Okay. Yeah.
For example, before today's interview, probably some people did not know about the nature of the time. Now that is a new knowledge, that time is flexible actually, because created by the memory. Now the possibility opens up that if I can modulate the memory somehow, it will be possible to change the time.
Holy shit. Okay. So I mean, I have access to this massive bank of memory. I can go anywhere I want. Just give me the year and I'll think about it. I can think of a picture in that year and I'll draw it for you. So I have this ability. What can I do with it?
That is your choice. You can do whatever you want, you see. Once you get the so-called ability, or it's also called the power, you can use it for anything you want. And there will be consequences. The consequences come in form of lessons. There will be lessons. So now let us take time. You can rewind in your own memory, isn't it? You can rewind time in your own memory. Now there are some extraordinary people whose visualization is so strong that they can bring up any episode of their life in front of their eyes.
Yes.
Like it is so real that they can experience it completely. And it happens to everybody, actually. Sometimes we smell something like fresh smell of bread, which your mother used to bake.
Oh, yes.
Childhood.
Yes.
And now you can, in an instant of time, the mind rewinds back in the memory and presents you with a scenery, an
Flashback.
experience of the past.
Yeah.
What is that? That is manipulation of the time. You forget what is in present, and your whole experience is covered by the memories. Now, remember that the current experience is also of the memory. It is not nothing special.
Yes.
Why do you come back into this experience and do not remain in the other experience? Why is that?
Survival.
Survival.
Hey.
Read my mind. I was not expecting this answer. Yes. That means you have a good grasp of the subject now, you see. It is the survival. The body brings us back. The body has needs in time. So it brings us back into this. So now you have another clue. If you get rid of the body, if you get rid of the limitation of the body, you can dial back in any time that happened in your memory, you see. You can dial back into any episode that is recorded in your memory. Just like you said, give me a date, give me, punch the numbers in your mind, and boom, you are there. And nothing will bring you back if you do not have a body, if you're not bound by the limitation of the body. So it becomes your goal to get rid of the body. How to get rid of the body? Drop the attachment to the body. Drop the bonds to the body.
Okay.
So that is our goal. That becomes our goal, you see.
As a
You
third,
cannot. Sorry?
As a third step to that, how do we get rid of the bonds? How do we actually do that?
You can make a list of all these limitations that you want to get rid of. You can make a list. In general, I can tell you that go for liberation. This is called liberation. You want to be liberated from all the limitations. Get rid of all the limitations. Now, this is a very big goal. So you do it in steps. You do it in steps. For example, there is a limitation of the time on us. What is the limitation? That we think we are bound by our belief, the blind belief that there is a past and there is a future. Just now we removed this belief. That means just now we destroyed one of the limitations.
Another one would be self and other, right? The belief of self and other.
What?
On my website, there's a thing which says the many facets of awakening, and on there it says self and other, and on there is also time, and so perhaps the fallacy of self and other is a bond that we can break.
There are many. Actually, there are thousands, and that is why you cannot achieve the liberation in one day.
No. Yeah, so a limitation, so self and other would be a limitation, wouldn't it? Because if I go around really believing like, separate people, and I'm separate as well.
Yes, if you believe this kind of thing that you say I'm separate and you are separate, and you won't be able to transcend this limitation, because belief is what is that keeps us limited. It stops our evolution. The beliefs, they stop the evolution. So how to get rid of the beliefs? That is the first thing. Do not believe anything first. That should be your first mantra. That do not believe anything that any people say.
Yeah.
Find out for yourself. Become an explorer. Become a seeker. How to know? How to How to know that there are beliefs? Well, if they are limiting you, if they keep you stupid and dumb, then it is a belief. If it is not founded on your direct experience, then it is a belief. Like last time we saw the belief about the death. It
Yes.
is not my experience. The death is not my experience. The no experience is not my experience. So why should I believe it? And as soon as I give up this kind of belief, the opportunity opens for knowledge. Now study what is death. Now study what dies, what remains, what it is like to be dead. And then you will transcend death. Then you will have control over death. Once you transcend the death, you have control over the birth. You see, it is impossible to do such things without knowledge. And therefore, the whole goal of my life is knowledge now. It is all knowledge. But I do not even, breathe if it does not lead me to knowledge. It is so strong now, this desire to know. That is called the path of knowledge. And it is founded on the desire of liberation, to drop all my limitations. And that is founded on the desire to get rid of the suffering. Because limitation means suffering, isn't it?
Yes.
You're carrying this load of kind of junk on your head, not knowing anything, not knowing what you are, not knowing why you are here, not knowing why do I need to go through this trouble? Why do I need to go through the pain? Or even if it is pleasure and happiness, why do I need to go through the pleasure? What is the need here? Why do I need to run for pleasure? How is it meaningful to get more and more and more pleasure? So the question will take you to the knowledge.
A way we can discover which limitations that we can remove is to reverse engineer what we said. So imagine, like, I really want to limit someone. What would I have them believe, to make them suffer? So I would make them believe that, for example, that they are separate. So I make them feel lonely in the world. Make them believe that they're going to die, so that they spend their life, running around like a headless chicken.
Yes, now look at your society. I mean, any society in this world. What are they doing to a baby, for example? First, they tell the baby that, look, you are a male or a female. You should dress like this and you should talk like this, you see.
It's crazy shit.
There is already limited form. This form is already very limited. One more limitation was added. Now, as soon as you grow up a little bit, you need to learn something. You need to go to the school. And you need to learn the history. You need to learn the mathematics. And now you are a member of this religious community. Now you need to worship this God. You cannot worship that God. It is our enemies, the God of our enemies. And now you belong to a race. Look, everybody else is going to kill you. Simply, stick to your race, favor your race, become a racist. Now you belong to a country. Other countries are your enemies. You need to kill them. You drop the bombs on their heads. Just kill them. And all you need to do is work. 24 hours, you need to work and earn money so that you get the products that somebody else is selling you. Then you need to be a slave of that rich person, you see. Obey your government. And then you see, run for pleasure. Run for partners, because obviously you cannot be happy if you do not have anybody. If nobody loves you, you will be miserable. And you need many things. You need a lot of gold also. You need to eat a lot of food also. And not any food, the five-star quality food which nobody eats. And so on. What is this society has done to you? It keeps you in fear. It keeps you even more limited. It has enchained you into its own beliefs. It is like a gutter in which everybody is like crammed in. They don't want to go out of it, and they don't let anybody come out of it.
Yes.
So a seeker is antisocial by nature, is not bound by society. That is the first thing you should do. You see, people say, how to liberate myself, how to liberate myself. You see, I'm already free. I'm already fine. Why should I take this trouble? It is, the condition is like that of a pig that is wallowing in a pit of shit. The pig likes it, does not know how it is to be not pig. So know your situation, first of all, you see. Know your bondage, and then you will know liberation. There is a lot of work to be done even before you start manipulating time and space and bodies and worlds. A lot of progress to be made. First, become a human. First become a proper human, and then you can think about progressing beyond human. Right now, most of us are just, barely animals, just below animals actually. The animals are more free. We are not.
Yes. I think each seeker must at least get themselves to a place in the physical where they are living by themselves, or sort of independent.
Yes, become as independent as you can. Get out of the system and live your life like a human, not influenced by others. Right now, we are mentally slave of others. We do not have our own will. I think we discussed this thing before. We do not have our own will. All the wills that you will are wills of the others. You are a slave of the others. So that is a kind of enlightenment in itself, that I am bound. Knowing that you are bound is the beginning of liberation. It is a big subject, you see. It's a big subject. So I'm doing small things, I'm becoming independent of all this brainwashing that has happened in this society. And I keep a very kind of minimum contact with the society. The contact is only on need basis, only for survival. There is no other contact. I do not buy anything that the people tell me. It needs to go through my own experience and machinery of logic. There is I mention it in my blog articles. Install a BS detector on your head here.
Yes.
It should have a needle, like if it is BS, it should start beeping, and then fine tune this BS meter. As soon as you hear something, your BS meter should start beeping. It should alert you. Look, I'm falling into the trap of society now. So I was born with a BS meter on. I was born with this. That is why I did not fit in any kind of society actually. So as soon as people told me, look, you need to go to the school, the BS meter would start beeping. Why? Can you tell me why? Why can't I survive in any other way? And they told me, you need to worship this God and that God. I said, why? Why can't I choose my own gods? If I don't want to worship anybody, why can't I choose that? Why should I obey? You should be like this, you should dress like this, you should talk like this, you should learn this language of the educated people. And every time this kind of thing happened, I got the reading on my BS meter. So sometimes we need to do these things because we are ourselves dependent on the society, isn't it? The dependency goes so deep that we are born in slavery. So again and again, it reminds me of the movie Matrix. You see, it's a good picturization of that. We are born in slavery and we die in slavery. You don't even know. So all the symbolism in that movie is pushing you to realize this, that you are under bondage. Now take steps. Sometimes we need to agree with what the society is saying just to remain alive. So get out of the system as much as possible. It need not be done by rebelling. It can be done in a very loving way, in very kind way. Like you refuse the bondage instead of rebelling against it. Do not be violent, because they know how to silence a violent person. If you start telling, I'm not going to obey any laws that you have, I'm not going to work, I'm a god, I'm already eternal, and they're going to lock you up.
And it brings a lot of attention on yourself.
Yes. Do not do that. That's stupidity, you see. So the spiritual seeking is very, very personal affair. It is very silent affair. It is just your own thing. Plus, you can discuss this with your guru. If you do not have a guru, unfortunate actually. The Neo is nobody without Morpheus, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you need a guru. It will make everything easy, and it will make everything very, very quick, very quick. You need somebody who is already liberated from the system, and that person can teach you. And the second thing is, I forgot.
First time on the Information Paralyzed podcast, Tarun Pradhaan forgets. How did you do that? I thought you have a control of your mind. Gosh.
I lost my awareness here, you see. So anyway, so then the essence of this is recognize your bondage and then make anything, do. Yes, I was talking about the non-violent means. It should be personal. You can discuss it with your guru, or you can discuss it with your other seeker friends, just like we are doing, you see. I feel comfortable talking about this kind of, crazy stuff here, because I'm not kind of afraid of saying this, because nobody's going to shoot me if I say this. But you go this and say this in, let us say, religious community, or somebody who is of some very strong political belief, then you will be in trouble. Do not make that kind of mistake. Escape from the prison. You do not need to fight the prison guards.
Yes. My plan is, long-term plan is basically do what you're doing there, make videos from a place that is not near people. Yes.
You can slowly shift away from this. Yes, the physical distance is very important. The isolation from the society is very good for your physical health and mental health also.
Yes.
So I'm isolated. Last I think 5 years I'm physically isolated, and since last 20 years I'm mentally isolated. I agree with nothing, almost nothing that the society says. That is a lot of freedom.
Yeah. So right now, current events, you got this virus going around, many different views about it. And one of them is that it's connected with, and I'm probably going to get taken down for this. Let's see what happens. 5G and coronavirus. Basically, the whole world is right. The whole world is on lockdown, right? And while we're in lockdown, they're putting up these 5G poles, which radiate extremely intense electromagnetic fields. And so, I can't remember I forgot what I was going to say. What was I saying at the start?
Current events are happening here.
Yes, that's one of them.
There is a lot of fear. People are thinking that this phone tower, is the cause of disease.
Well, not like 5G is causing thing. They're actually saying David Icke. I'll link to the video down. He says that there's actually
it is unprecedented. I've never heard this kind of violence happen in UK. There's burning of towers. I've never seen this kind of rioting before in your country. That is first.
Yes.
In my life.
I'm not a part of it, so don't worry. But basically, like David Icke says that the coronavirus isn't actually a virus, and there actually isn't a virus, and they're going to use 5G damage. And I know you really don't care about this, but I want to get on the video. They're going to use the excuse of the 5G damage to fill up the graves, the morgues, and blame it on this virus. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's fucked up. So
I don't listen to anybody actually.
Yes. No.
I don't listen to anybody. It has to become my own experience, and then I'll think something about it. So everybody should be like this. Become very, very critical of what people are stuffing in your mind. Otherwise, you'll end up doing this kind of stupid things. I remember it happened in Iran that people said that there is a special paint in our mosque, and that paint will keep you away from the virus. And people went there, and everybody got the virus there. So if you listen to the people, you will end up in trouble. That is my experience. Do not do that. And yes, we do not know anything about the disease. We do not know how it started and what is the cure and whether you will get it or not. So no problem, every experience is learning opportunity. You will know. And anyway, whatever is happening in the society is not our concern, really. The whole world can go to hell. It can burn down. It's not going to affect us, isn't it? Because we are here to be liberated from the world. The affairs of the world are of no concern at all. What is happening in your mind is your concern. Like if you are a very hardcore seeker, you need to be concerned about only your progress. What is happening in the world is kind of incidental. Every day there is something or other is happening, you see. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad. It is, just make sure that you survive, your family survives, the people who are dependent on you, they survive. Do everything possible to, survive, because without the life, there is no progress. No progress is possible.
And that kind of links in with the reincarnation idea, where we have our lives just to spiritually progress, right?
There's a lot of truth in that. Actually, there are two components of taking birth. The first is, it is just a play. Like you come here to experience, just play, you see. And the second is, you find that there is a natural evolution that is already happening, and you take advantage of the life. You use the human life as a stepping stone to accelerate your evolution. That is what a spiritual seeker is doing. And so it depends on what is your goal. Like, you can very well have a goal of getting involved in the worldly stuff and running after pain and pleasure and controlling the world and trying to improve the world, save the planet and so on. That is perfectly valid. That is perfectly okay, because probably you came here just to have fun. Because where are we evolving really? We are already highly evolved, you see. The most highest possible place that you can imagine, we are already there. We are already the whole existence. So we came here for play, most of us, although many do not know for what they are taking a birth. Some of us, they came here to take advantage of the form, the human form. And if you are one of these who are kind of exploiting the human life for progress, to grow beyond the human life, then forget about the world. Distance yourself from the world and worldly affairs. Let it do whatever it does. It's already very, very perfect. Actually, there's nothing wrong that's happening here. You can see it. It is just the karmic stuff, karmic give and take. That is all that is happening. And you stay away from this, you see. You utilize your birth, you utilize this body and mind, intelligence, to rise above the physical layer at least. Then we'll see, rise to the next step, take the next step. That is all. That is all should be your goal of the seeker. That is why, when I say the world is like this and the society is like this, I do not really mean that it is a bad thing. It is a bad thing from the point of view of a seeker. It is not aligned to our goals. Our goals are something else.
So what if we could make the world that is a society that is aligned with seekers?
Can we make this society?
Can we make the society aligned with seekers?
Well, no, do not even try.
Oh, you're being pessimistic.
No, it is perfect. It is perfect. Oh, yeah. There is, enough suffering here to turn you towards seeking. If you turn it into a paradise, there is no chance. You will remain trapped here for billions of births. There is no chance of leaving this. It is perfect. It is already a place of learning, actually. Even those who are worldly, they are learning something. They are progressing, although very, very slowly. We utilize this place. We do not change this place. We do not do that. Probably there will come a time in your life, evolutionary life, your spiritual life, when you will be empowered to change something in the world. And that will happen very rarely, but it can happen. Then you can worry about what to change, how to align the society for this. Right now, what we can do is progress ourselves, learn, know, gain the knowledge, plus you find out somebody who's like you and collaborate, like transmit the knowledge, give away the knowledge. That will be kind of better thing to do than cowherding the societies. That's not our business here. Yes, you find out the people who are struggling and seeking and they're looking for answers. You find them out, you hunt them down, and you give them the spiritual food. They're hungry for spiritual food. You provide the spiritual food to them. I'm doing it, you see. I'm doing it in many, many ways. I hunt down such people, actually. I'm proactively looking for a person who is just on the edge, you see, just on the edge of evolution. I do this, you see, push, that's all. I do not work too much.
So my catchy tagline at the beginning, information to create a paradise of world and mind, not that they differ. What do you think about that? Because the first thing, like, I'm pretty sure each person has the potential to be a Salvator Mundi, and it's just a case of courage. And I'm at 0.01% of my potential, and that's shameful. It makes me cry. And I listen to Odessa a moment apart, and I cry. And it's okay. I did on my run. It was great. I listened to it on repeat. And so, yeah, I think if I don't know, man. I don't know. I've got intuition.
You are already doing a good job, you see. Realizing that I wish to progress and realizing that people need knowledge, you see, that is a big step, isn't it? It's a very big step. You're already, you have crossed many billion people in evolution simply by setting up.
I'm a billionaire.
Yes, I mean, yes, there is a lot to be done, but this is a beginning. This is a very good beginning.
Let's see what we can do with this life, guys. Come on, gods.
So, if you build it, people will come. Don't worry. And there are seekers. They will come to this place. They will come to the information paradise. They will get the info. It is, it cannot happen in one day. It cannot happen overnight. You see, I've found out some things like it takes almost 10 years for a YouTube channel to get established, to get some subscribers.
And I'll still be young as fuck.
Yes. I'm doing it since like 2 years only. So there's a long distance before us. There's a long route. The thing is, yes, you do not have control over these things that happen in the world, but you have full control over what happens in you, isn't it? You have full control. So do not forget your progress while doing all these things, you see. It is a big service, but do not get lost in the service only.
A point about what you're saying about your channel. Thing is, you live like isolated and like not in the society. If you did have that societal knowledge, you'd be able to like apply it, and then it would be crazy.
I have a little. I use it, sometimes, but not much.
Yeah.
As soon as you enter into this job of providing knowledge, you will start learning some things that it is kind of more difficult than it seems. It is not this easy. You see, gaining knowledge is very easy. Kind of, just like I said, write down the limits that you are currently in, and then try to know how to bypass them, how to cross them. But doing this to somebody else is kind of very difficult. It is only a guru's job, you see. Only a very experienced guru can calibrate somebody else. So I found that when I took up this kind of job, I said, it's going to take only 2 or 3 months before this teaching will spread like wildfire in the world. Like I was kind of stupid thinking that. And after 3 months, I got 10 subscribers. So, that shows us the reality, actually. The bondage is very deep. The ignorance is very deep. Sometimes I get kind of gems, like I'm doing the weekly satsang. Sometimes I get amazing people in there.
Yeah.
They have questions that that put me in trouble sometimes, you see. They ask such questions that even I don't know the answers, you see. And then I think, after 20 years, 25 years of learning, I still cannot answer this person, you see. So it happens. It happens. And it will take time. So have some patience.
Thank you.
Patience is the key.
Yes.
So yes, it takes a long time. You have started now. Just see and watch.
Yes.
Do as much as you can. That is my advice. We cannot do more than that.
There is a man called Gary Vaynerchuk, and one of his sayings is macro patience and micro speed. And that means long-term thinking, long-term vision, but every day we're doing loads of stuff. So yeah.
Yes, keep doing, keep going without expecting everything in one day. That is what we.
Yes.
That is what we are doing. That is what I am doing. You see, right now I do not have any targets, or I do not have any plans. I just do the next thing that comes. That is most natural. And the first priority is always you. You means the first priority is this one. This one needs to progress more than everybody else. Otherwise, there is no point in spreading the knowledge. If you yourself are ignorant, you will spread ignorance only, not spread the knowledge. I keep improving myself. Actually, every day I improve myself a little bit. And I was in a hurry that I need to progress kind of in 3 weeks. I need to reach the top. But nowadays, that also is dropped. That is also stupidity. You will progress at a very high speed, but it won't be like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 years or even 10 years.
Yeah.
It is possible, but it is slow according to our conditioning.
So, what was that question that you were asked in the meeting that was difficult?
I was just giving an example. I cannot recall now what questions are being asked. They are usually related to something which cannot be produced on demand, like some things which cannot be shown directly. For example, how do I know the universal mind? How do I know there are layers in the universal mind? Like somebody asked this last time. What should I do to find out that there are higher layers? Just like we counted layers in our human mind, what should I do to find out there are higher layers? Now, I cannot show it, isn't it? It is not my experience. And how do I know this? Simply by logic, you see. It is a logical conclusion. So it becomes really difficult to answer these questions sometimes, because I do not know it, and therefore I cannot answer it. So what is the solution? First, I should know it. I should know it first. And then I should know a way to show the other person also. There are ways, that way will be exactly the same way which led me to that experience, led me to that knowledge, because the knowledge comes from the experience only. So if I do not have that experience, I usually do not speak about it. And if I speak about it, I just add a disclaimer that, look, I'm not going to give you any evidence of this, and you should not believe it blindly. It is a pointer. There is a possibility here, the possibility of some things. So sometimes people ask this kind of questions which I cannot show them. I cannot prove anything to them. These questions remind me that I am also ignorant. I do not know everything, you see. Yes, the basic knowledge, the essential knowledge, just like, the knowledge of the time, knowledge of the space, knowledge of the consciousness, knowledge of the illusion of the world. This is the basic knowledge, and this can be demonstrated. I can show you in 5 minutes that whatever I said is true, but there are some things which are not in human experience right now that cannot be shown. There you need to rise above the human experience, and then you can show. And then it is possible to show somebody.
I have a video idea which will intend to show the permanence of the now, which is a simple practice, which is everybody gets out your iPhone and go on to your alarms, and for each minute set an alarm for the next 24 hours and check if it's still now for each of the minutes. I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to do that. And I'm going to film it. It's going to be 24 hours.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, just to prove it.
It's a good method. There is another method which I use is to question. When was it that you were not in the now?
Yes. When was it not now? Blowing out the candles in my birthday cake, it was still now. Yeah, I did it now.
Yeah.
Each birthday cake,
So,
each year.
I got it from Rupert Spira, actually. He uses this technique.
He's my favorite. I love Rupert.
Yes. I saw your photo with Rupert, actually.
Yes. I asked him a question. So when I went to that Rupert Spira event in July of 2019, I asked him from the audience. I was given the microphone, and I almost cried. I almost started crying because I really want to know what imagination is. I said to him, how come I can imagine a zebra? I always use a zebra because it's zany. Well, how come I can imagine it? I can see it. How am I doing that? I was never told this. How? And I think I either interpreted that, everyone thinks I'm weird. I don't know. Or that was actually the case. I don't know. And he just said something, I can't remember, but didn't really answer me. I think, anyway.
That is an interesting question, isn't it?
Yes. I did actually record.
He did not answer it.
Well, I actually recorded the whole thing on my phone, an audio, probably illegally, and that's okay. It's not okay, don't do it. But yeah, so I recorded his answer. So time is a massive subject that I want most people to get their heads around, because it's causing lots of suffering. The ignorance of the truth around time.
Yes, causes a lot of suffering. Now let us, imagine what are the implications of there being no time. Can you tell me what are the implications of there being no time? Now you know that there is no time. It is simply an imagination in our memory, because we have memory, we have time, concept of time, but it does not exist in the existence. Existence is timeless. So now what is the implication of this knowledge?
Well, in my own life here, nothing will be put off, so no behavior will be, I'll just do it in the future. It's really important to me, and okay, I'll just do it in the future. For example, expression of gratitude, and such important things. So everything's in the moment here. And then it would be like, okay, I've got this little movie from this camera behind my eyes. How do I want this movie to go? Okay, I'll just behave how I want the character to behave. And also there won't be any memory, like worrying about something that happened in the past and stuff. But then also, I wouldn't have much of the survival stuff, because I've learned a lot, in these 20 years. I've learned a lot how to survive. I don't want to get rid of that, So it's weird. It's two sides.
Anything else that you can think of? Any other implications? Like, it will be a good homework for everyone to make a list of the implications of there being no time. It can be personal, like you are not defined by your past now because you do not have a past. It is just memory of what happened. So it is stupid to be defined by some stuff in the memory, you see.
Yes.
Some trauma happened, somebody abused you, somebody insulted you. Now, that should not define what you are right now, what you do right now, what you think right now. Should not define it, because it did not really happen in your past.
This would be great news for the person become free of your abuse, the abuse in the past. You can be free of it.
Yes. Same for if you achieve something which is now in your memory, there is no need to be proud of it, because it is only memory.
I got 15
subscribers. You did not achieve anything, actually.
Yes.
So no achievements, no failures. They do not define me, because they are only memories.
Yes. And if we for a second define God, we say consciousness, right? Time is now because we're always aware. Constant awareness, right? Constant consciousness, right? So, and then God is an anthropomorphized cultural idea of infinity, and infinity. Could we, for a second, link how consciousness is linked to infinity? Why are they kind of the same, or are they not? I suppose infinity is aware.
They are same because we do not see any limit to the consciousness. That's why we call it infinite. Okay. If we saw a limit to the consciousness, we can call it finite.
Yes. And so if God is defined, if they are synonymized, consciousness and God, the permanence of time could also be called as God's love, the omnipresence of God. There you go, religious.
These are the religious implications. The religions will fall down if you realize this thing.
Yeah.
Because you become the God and you are eternally present here and now. Actually, that is the only thing that is present. Which you call God is the only thing that is present. The rest, it comes and goes as illusory experiences, which you know only because you have a memory. Otherwise, they are not there, really. Only the presence is there. And I can think of a long list of things that are implications of this knowledge. The very good, the result of this knowledge is there is no cause and effect.
Yes. Yes.
Because the cause and effect, they happen in time. The cause comes first and the effects come later. So when there is no time, there is no such cause and effect. It means everything arises in the present moment a fresh, new. It is not a transformation of the old. It is always new. Now the mind will not understand it, but this is our experience. Everything is fresh and new. So nothing was caused. There will be no effect.
Let me interject here.
Big
Let me add something here, right? Most people are living as effects of causes, aren't they? Right? It's crazy shit. You can be free, everyone.
It is crazy how much ignorance we have. Yeah. And that would, if there is no time, there is no history also. Nothing happened in the history. We are not bound by the history. We are not bound by the culture.
The ruins are standing in the same moment as the skyscrapers.
Yes, everything has appeared right now, right here in the present moment. So everything that you were told about the history is wrong. It is a story. It did not happen in time, actually.
It was a good story. Good story.
Story. Actually, it changes your worldview totally if you find out the implications of the time. Do you need to plan for tomorrow if there is no time?
You can do if you want to, but, like, when you realize there isn't any time, there's no rush.
Yes, right. You can, but you can do it without anxiety, you see.
Yes.
This body-mind is in time. This body-mind lives in time, so it will do whatever it does, you see. There is no need to stop it. But there can be a peace of mind behind this activity of coding or planning. It is trying to survive, isn't it? So why not? Let it survive. But there should not be fear behind it, because the tomorrow never comes. The tomorrow is not going to arrive, never arrive. It is always present. So what are you planning for? Yes, this body mind is planning for survival. That is, we can understand, but I am not planning for anything. I am just present here. I am eternally present. What can I plan for? Nothing is going to come. So this should give us some relief from the anxiety, relief from the fear. And because there is no time, I was never born, and I'm not going to die also. That gives us the freedom to live in the present moment. These are some kind of personal implications of there being no time.
To what extent would you consider using the kind of mind frame that would mean that you would experience the human experience and refer to yourself as in the third person? So, like, do you ever walk around and say, like, oh, let's give Tarun this nice flower, and, like, then pick up a flower, like, you say, like, oh, Tarun's hungry. It's not in, like, in a practical way.
No, there is no need to do that. Once you realize that you are not the mind and body, you can call mind and body as yourself. There is no harm. The problem is you call the mind and body as yourself, not knowing what you are. That is the problem. Otherwise it's perfectly okay, you see. I'm also this form. It's not that I'm not this one. Essentially I'm not this one. That is more correct to say. I'm every form. But you see, in the day-to-day life, there is identification. It is perfectly okay. If it is causing suffering, it is not okay. If it is not causing suffering, well, I am everything now. I am this table, I am this chair, I am this car, I am this phone, I am this rock, I am this mountain. I am everything.
You should make a song.
Because it's not causing suffering, you see. It's not causing suffering.
Yes. There is nothing we are not.
There is nothing we are not. That suffering appears when I say I'm a specific thing which does a specific thing and I'm not anything else. That is a formula for suffering. That is a recipe of suffering. So do not do this kind of. If the identification happens in ignorance, it causes suffering. If the identification happens in knowledge, it is okay. It's fine. There is nothing wrong in it.
Okay. Cool.
But
okay.
I've developed some things which you may call it as crazy. Like I've lost all interest for anniversaries of all kinds, all festivals. I've lost all interest in that. All birthdays and all, even the past occasions and the future occasions, everything. It is because of this knowledge that it is worthless, it is kind of useless activity, really.
Yes.
When you celebrate the occasions, you are identified with something which is happening in the time, isn't it? So and I stopped wearing a watch. That was long ago. Now I do not do anything on time, really, except where it involves society. Like I fixed time with you for meeting.
Yeah.
That is a wise thing to do, isn't it? Because this involves time. But if I want to do something, I'm totally free. I do not look at watch. I do whenever I want, you see. Sometimes I lose track of time totally because I'm completely isolated. Sometimes many weeks pass and I do not even realize so much time has passed. Because ultimately it's in our mind, you see. You can even imagine that I was born yesterday. Nobody's stopping you. People are going to call you crazy, you see. So you need to keep the time when you are in the society. That will be an intelligent thing to do. But when you are as a person, as a mind, as a consciousness, you drop the time. You don't need it. You don't need it there.
No.
So I've seen that all the unnecessary stuff that was related to the time was dropped. It's nothing for me now.
Okay. So, I mean, the sun's enough, isn't it, really? The sun's good.
Yes. It is freedom.
Yeah.
Like you must see these people who need breakfast every day at 9 o'clock. If they do not get breakfast at 9 o'clock, their whole day is kind of ruined. Their whole day, they are angry or something, you see. The mood is spoiled. Now, this is kind of extreme bondage, the slavery of the clock, isn't it? If I don't get breakfast on 9 o'clock, well, I'll get it at 10 o'clock. It's perfectly okay.
Yes. It's interesting because I actually have this weekly plan here. I have it all segmented out in hours. So,
I mean, I also make plans. Like, I need to finish this video today. I need to finish that job tomorrow. Something is like this. But if it does not happen on my planned time, I just ignore it. I put a new date on the calendar. Okay, tomorrow. The problem is I take care when it involves somebody else. Like I've given an appointment to somebody, let us say my bank or my what do you call those people, the car mechanic. I need to take my car for servicing that day. Now I cannot afford to miss that appointment. There I keep then I set up the alarm and then I make all the efforts to reach there on time, before time sometimes. Do get the job done. As soon as the time dependent job is done, I'm free of the time. Then I don't look at the clock again. So you need to differentiate between the survival and your own personal life. Those who do not differentiate, they are kind of they are really crazy. They have not taken the message there. So plan, follow the time. If it is necessary, why not? Because it is the tool. You see, we have invented time for use. Use it, use it. Otherwise, if you don't need it, do not become a slave of your own tool. Why do you need to get up at specific time and do something, your own personal stuff at a specific time? Why is there a need? Why can't you be just free, you see? Be free. If it does not involve others, like it is my own plan, then I will do it anytime. Now, some people will become lazy and they will say, okay, I do not remain disciplined if I do not make a timetable. Then make a timetable, you see. Now, who is stopping you from making the timetable?
That's why.
If it moves your mind, if it motivates you to do something, well, make a timetable then. It is your tool. Use it, you see. It's not wise to throw away the tool which is useful for you. So you see, you should employ a little bit of wisdom here, a little bit of intelligence here, common sense. Like, what can I drop? What can I drop from my time, belief, and what can I keep? As long as you are in the human world, you will need to use time. So use the time. As soon as you get rid of the human society, human birth, you evolve out of the human form, then the time will have a different meaning for you. Then probably it will be much free version of time that you will get. Like you miss the train, you can go back in time and take the train. That will be possible. That will be a possibility. Right now, it is not possible. Just use your common sense.
Okay, so this is
station before the train.
Yes. So this is the best question ever. Okay, follow it. Coming up. Okay, about 5 seconds. What do you think about time travel?
It's a very good question, and I thought about it. As long as you think that the time is an aspect of the physical world, there's no possibility at all, because we saw it. It's not there. How can you travel to something which is not there? It's not possible. So it is totally possible if you control your mind, which means because time is a product of the memory, if you can control your mind, then it is totally possible. Then there is it is meaningless thing. There is no travel also there, because you are present in all times. All experience is available to you at all the times, which is the nature of the existence. The existence is all experience at all times. It is truly infinite, actually. It's not limited in time. So that kind of control to have any kind of experience at will at all times is possible only when you control your mind. Because there is the origin of all the experience, there is the origin of all the time. Now I'll give you an example. You see, it cannot be understood without the example. Let us say you have a movie.
Yes.
The movie which has a reel, you see, the photographic reel, not the movie on your hard disk or on the DVD. So when you look at the movie, how does it look like? The reel.
It looks like one thing, whole thing.
Because it is wound. Yes, it's a reel. It's called a reel because it is reeled. So everything that happened in the movie is present right there, isn't it?
Yes.
The end is there. The beginning is there. The middle is there. The car chase is there, and the fight is there. And the romance. Everything is right now, right here in front of you. But can you watch the movie like this? Can you watch everything at once?
No.
Oh, you need to go frame by frame, you see.
Yes.
24 frames per second. But interesting thing, you can rewind back if you want.
Yes. Yes.
Why is that possible? Because the whole of the movie is right here. The movie is not dependent on how you are playing it. You have the power to play the first section first, or you can, if you are not patient, you can forward it to the end, cut to the chase, like this, cut to the interesting part, and you can experience the end of the movie first. Nobody's stopping you. You can even play it in reverse if you want, because the whole of the movie is there. Now look at the movie. It is a kind of memory, isn't it?
Yes.
The movie is impression of the images on the reel, on the plastic film. So that gives us a clue. All of our experience is impressed already on the memory. Now, if you get hold of the memory, if you get this power to rewind forward and back, you can do it. You can experience anytime because it is available all the time. Even the future is available all the time, you see. That can become controversial now, because just now I said there is no past and there is no future. It is not there. As long as you have this belief that it is happening in time, it is not there. Look at the experience from a different point of view. Whole of the experience is present right now, just like the whole of the movie. And now, depending on how you want to experience it, there can be past and future. You are in this point in the movie, so everything on the left you can call it as future, everything on the right you can call it as past. You can move any place, and then the past and future, you see, they become words only. You are only scanning the memory locations, that is all. You see, now the future is equal to the past is equal to the future. Now you will ask this question: how do I know that the existence is like this? How do I know that the existence is all the events at one time? So you can do it in two ways. First way is, superior way, which is like you can explore the mind, know the mind, learn what is mind. You see, do experiments on your mind, on your memory, and you will know. The second way is the inferior way. You can study the world, study the experience itself. Try to find a clue in the movie, and you will find something interesting in the movie. You see, in the world, that there is something called retrocausality. You can Google it. You see, retrocausal events. That means the future can affect the past, or the future can affect the present. And when they did this kind of experiments, they found that it is true. The events in the future can actually cause effect in the present. What does that mean? That there is no future actually. It is all present. It is all present. Now they have integrated the time into the dimension of the space. Like it is called the fourth dimension. Now anything can take on the form of time here on the It's called the time-space nowadays. It's not time and space. It is space-time, isn't it? So out of which the general theory of relativity is born from this idea that the time is another dimension of the reality. And you call it the space-time continuum, which means every event is already present. The observer moves through the events. The same thing they found in the quantum mechanical experiments, where there is an experiment called the delayed choice experiment. It's called delayed choice quantum eraser. You can Google it. And if you are like if you have a physics background, if you have a maths background, you will understand what they're saying. But the bottom line is, what this experiment proves is that the future events can affect the present events. And that means, you see, there is no time. The existence is timeless. This is not only a proof from the physical sciences, physics, it is proven through mathematics. You see, the rules of the world, the laws of the world, they behave even if you reverse the time. They behave in the same way. There is, you see, there is no difference between equation if you write it in reverse. Like you substitute the minus t in place of plus t. It obeys the same law. And you can arrive at the same thing by your direct experience. There is no time, there is only memory. You can arrive at the same conclusion by experimenting on your mind. Like people who experiment on their mind, they can access any kind of experience they want. Actually, you will know more by experimenting on the mind, because not only you will see that the future is potential, isn't it?
Yeah.
The future is probabilistic. Anything can happen. You will see that the past is also potential. The past is not written in stone. Like it is not fixed. You can have any kind of past. For example, the movie, the future is already written, determined. The past is already written, determined. You can move in any direction. You can call any direction as future. You can call any direction as past. You see, it's meaningless because everything is here. But the existence is something more complicated than the movie, because you can move into any kind of future you want. You can have any kind of past that you want. So that kind of puts another dimension on your question of time travel. Like you can travel to any kind of past. There is no way to tell which past is the true past, because you see, there is no such thing as causality in this existence. Causality means time. The existence is non-causal, non-deterministic, probabilistic, and statistical. It is, the memory is not a physical memory that we are talking about. When I talk about the mind and memory, we're not talking about anything physical that is determined by physical laws. No. We are talking about the fabric of the mind, which is non-physical, which is kind of metaphysical, if you see. So there is every kind of possibility here. If you want, you can travel back to a past when you were a baby. If you want, you can travel back to a past where there is no you. They both are true. They're both valid experiences. So now, what can you conclude about these things?
Well, you mean that this moment right now, I don't know, but it's got something to do with this moment, I feel.
According to me, I concluded one thing only, that it is all an illusion.
Yes.
Just like time is an illusion, and the events that happen in time are also illusions. The past is an illusion, the future is an illusion, so events in the past and the future are also illusions. And the second thing that you can conclude is I create my experience. I can create anything I want. The only thing is I'm limited right now, limited by the beliefs, limited by the ignorance. I do not know how, but I can create any past, I can create any present, and I can create any future I want.
Too.
And that gives me so much freedom that I then do not want to do it because it's kind of meaningless, isn't it? It's meaningless.
Yeah.
Why would I prefer one kind of past instead of the other kind of past? Why?
Yeah.
Why should I prefer one kind of future instead of the other kind of future? Because everything is present right now. You see, everything is already experienced. Everything was already experienced. What do I need to change here? Nothing except myself. You see, all I need to do is drop my ignorance. That is all. All I need to do is drop this need to do something about the past and future and the experience. Isn't it all perfect? Because everything is here. Everything is already given. Why do I need to do anything? So you drop not only the ignorance, you drop all the preferences. And when there is no preference, there is no action. You enter the actionless state. That is complete freedom. When you are not bound by what should be done, that is a big bondage. So you drop everything. That is the non-action, the state of non-action. And then whatever happens is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So if I wanted to go back in time and meet Jesus, or could I do that?
Yes, you can meet 2000 Jesuses if you want. You can create them. You are much bigger than these things, you see.
Yeah.
It is all your creation. It is all you.
So when you say
Wrong
you,
creation, it is not creation of. I'm not separate from the creation. It is me.
So when you say me and you mean us, right?
Same.
Yeah, us. Right.
Same thing.
Because I like the idea of sort of like if I was in a small society, it's saying like us as if we just do away with the conditioning, and because it doesn't take away individuality, does it?
You can say, you see, when you are in social situations, you can change the language. But I would suggest that when you are with yourself, when you're talking about yourself, you change the language totally. Like when I say that I'm hungry, that is not true. The body is hungry. The body needs. When I say I'm afraid, that's not true. I'm only having an experience of fear. So I change my language. There is fear in the mind. You see, I employ a neutral language. So when I think about the past, oh, there is memory of the past. When I think about the future, oh, the mind is calculating something in the future, calling it future. So that will condition your mind to be free from the individual, which is not there. But as soon as you go into the society, because the society is kind of village of blind, you will need to wear a shade there, you see. You become blind there for the time being. You call this body mind as myself, behave to take whole responsibility of what you do, because the society is formed on this concept of individual doer who is responsible for what he does. So while in society you behave like an individual, you see, there is no harm in that. but do not bring the individual back home. Leave the individual at your shoe rack. Take off the individual at the shoe rack. Enter your home as the whole.
As an ashram, our home. Yeah. That's what I meant by third person, It's like, I'm not thinking. But then again, we are, like, there is nothing we're not.
That's right, yeah. I'm also the one that is thinking, yes, fine. Do not cause war with the individual, you see. Do not fight with the individual. Just realize that there is no individual while fighting something which is not there.
Shake hands with yourself.
Yes. A social distance with the individual, you see. Do not touch the individuals. Stay far away from the individual, but do not fight with that thing. It is useful. That's why we took the form of the individual, isn't it? Otherwise, if you think it is not useful, well, it will be dropped.
What is not useful?
The individual. If you think it is not useful to be individual, you will drop it. You will drop it in future life. There won't be any individual in future. As long as there is a use of the individual, it will appear as individual. So make use of it. That's what we are doing. We are making use of this body-mind to progress forward. That is all. You see.
Yeah. I suppose.
So you can ask this now. Many people will ask this, that you said everything is at one time, everything is eternal, everything has happened already. So isn't my progress already happened? Isn't my evolution already complete?
In some way.
What is the meaning of soul now?
Yes. Well, when we put in the film, we see it all, or it's like flipping through a book. You skip through and you have a look at all the pages and stuff. And like, if it's a picture book, but you still want to read it, don't you? Don't we? We want to experience it,
Exactly. You see, the point is to experience. The point is not to progress, you see. The journey is more beautiful than the destination in this case.
Man. Yeah.
So, we are not in a hurry to progress. We want to progress because that is the natural tendency of the mind. It wants to progress. So why not? But we want to enjoy the experience. That is all. So the whole thing is set up for our enjoyment. It is not set up for struggle. It is not set up for fighting. Even the ignorance is.
So you mean that God loves us?
No, we are the God. We love experience.
Yeah.
This thing is our experience. We love this thing. Yeah. We are the God that loves to be in this form. These forms are the product of the God, children of the God. We are all son of the God, one God. So this is the love that I am this also. I am this form also. I am this experience also. So I love to have this kind of experiences. That is why I'm having it. And that gives a twist to the whole progress thing. Now you can give a new meaning to the progress. Instead of struggle, it becomes a love affair. It becomes a dance instead of a fight. It is just an enjoyable trek that you are on. Do not make it a struggle. Do not try to improve everything, every one in one day. It is not worth it.
Yeah.
And it is not worth going to the end. Like, you watch a movie to enjoy the movie one frame at a time. You do not want to skip to the end credits, you see. Because why? Everything is here. Probably I'll just skip to the end. That is not the fun part. The fun part is going through the movie, you see.
Completely mirrors reproduction, the act of. That's a good one for the young guys. There you go. No, I'll leave the rest unsaid.
And because you have many movies going on in parallel, you will do it many times. So this whole progress stuff will happen many times. So what? It has already happened. It has already happened many times. We have progressed many, many times already. So it's kind of meaningless now. The only meaning that you can give it is that it is fun. It is play. It's a sport of some kind. That is all.
Okay.
So I think it will be good if we end here.
Yeah.
It's going to be very long otherwise.
We got 3 hours on the clock.
Yeah.
Time. It makes sense. It's the time one. But yeah. So that's a recap for the listeners. So what is time? Quickly.
The measure of the change, as we defined it, made up by the memory.
And then what's the ignorance? Why are people ignorant? What is the ignorance around it?
The thing that it is something real, that is the ignorance. It is an illusion. The only thing real is the present moment.
And then what happens when people get rid of the ignorance? And
freedom.
Okay.
More happiness, more freedom.
All right.
No limitation.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to episode of the Information Paradise podcast with the, as ever, wonderful Tarun Pradhaan.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you in our next meeting, possibly.
Oh, cryptic.
Thank you.